One of the most unique seafood delicacies in the world dwells deep in the remote, pristine waters of Canada along the Pacific coast of British Columbia. As the largest and longest-lived burrowing clam on Earth, it is harvested individually by divers and handled with the greatest pride and care. Earning an international reputation for great taste, fresh flavor, and premium quality, it has become one of British Columbia's most valuable shellfish harvests. We invite you to discover nature's buried treasure. Uncover true geoduck. Geoducks from Canada live in the cold waters off the west coast of British Columbia, buried up to 1 meter deep in the gravel or sand of the ocean floor. This species of clam can often live over 100 years, with the oldest geoduck recorded in Canada at 168 years old. It can also grow to over 4.5 kilograms. However, a commercially harvested geoduck is on average about 1 kilogram in weight. The geoduck is known as elephant trunk clam in Chinese for its long, meaty siphon or neck that extends from its large oval-shaped shell. It is most popular and cherished as live product and sought after for its unparalleled sweet, sea-fresh flavor and crunchy texture. While over 95% of Canadian product is shipped to customers in China and Hong Kong, it is now also being discovered and enjoyed by seafood lovers around the world. In Canada, geoducks are harvested by members of the Underwater Harvesters Association, or UHA, a non-profit association formed in 1981 to represent the 55 British Columbia geoduck license holders in managing and marketing their fishery.
The geoduck fishery started in the late 1970s, and it was mostly open access. It was quite low value. It was an experimental type fishery, and it developed from there into a frozen market where it was mostly sold to Japan. It evolved into a live market. About 95% is exported from Canada into Hong Kong and mainland China, and it's also exported into Macau, Taiwan, Thailand a little bit, into Singapore, and we're also looking at developing markets into Europe.
Today, the annual harvest is over 3 million pounds, with an average wholesale value of $47 million per year. Geoducks are harvested by highly skilled divers who work from sturdy, long-range vessels in remote areas along the coast of British Columbia's mainland, Vancouver Island, and also Haida Gwaii. Divers work at depths of 10 to 20 meters, moving along the ocean floor, looking for a geoduck show, the tip of a siphon, or a dimple in the sand made by the tip of a siphon. When a diver finds a show, he uses a stinger, a nozzle with high-pressure water pumped down from the boat, to liquefy the sand around the clam. It is then pulled out and gently placed in a bag, clipped to the diver's waist.
Okay.
When ready, the diver will signal the crew to hoist the bag up to the deck of the vessel. Once on board, they are gently emptied from the bag and banded to prevent the shell from gaping. This process also helps to keep the clams alive. They are then placed into sterilized cages with liners that separate each layer of product to avoid marking and prevent breakage during transport. The cages are labeled following strict guidelines and kept clean and cool, ready for validation and distribution. When a vessel lands in port, the geoducks will be validated by a dockside monitor who will weigh the cages and record the harvest details in a validation logbook. Refrigerated trucks then take the fresh live clams to federally approved and registered shellfish buyers in Vancouver. Here they are offloaded, validated again to ensure the exact weight, graded, and carefully packaged in shipping containers to maintain top condition. They are then air freighted live to markets overseas, usually the same day. Everyone involved in the fishery follows strict handling guidelines to ensure the highest level of quality, freshness, and safety is maintained. The UHA has developed stringent procedures to make certain that only market-approved product has been shipped to customers. In fact, traceability of the product starts immediately when the product lands on board the vessel and is documented every step of the way, right through to the end consumer.
Where we're fishing, the coordinates are written down on a piece of paper on the validation sheet. That sheet follows that product all the way into the dock when we unload it. The validator meets the product in Vancouver and confirms that the weights are the same and it is the same product. And when it is landed in China, Hong Kong, it can be traced back to that same validation sheet, which is then followed back all the way to my boat.
In Canada, once a geoduck has been removed from the sand, it must go to market.
Cut the siphon in half.
Because it grows in the wild and it's very long-lived, these clams will vary in size, color, and shape. This is one of the special attributes of geoduck from Canada and helps the industry meet the varying demands of the market year-round.
So because geoduck is a wild product, they are all different sizes, different colors, and from different areas depending on the substrate that you're fishing. Every time a bag comes up, you have all different grades. It's all really good product, it's just a different appearance, most of it.
A little bit darker, but it's all actually just pigments. And so once we open it up and we take the skin off, the meat inside is actually quite white and the texture is wonderful, C-sweet, quite crunchy and tight.
Today, many Western and other international chefs are also incorporating geoduck from Canada into their own new and unique creations. It is most often served raw and savored in the most discerning sashimi and sushi dishes. Other favorite traditional preparation methods include quickly sautéed, stir-fried, or cooked in a traditional hot pot.
Geoduck is very versatile, so it can be adapted to many of today's modern techniques as well as contemporary techniques and ancient techniques. So I see a lot of chefs coming up with new ideas.
While popular for its great taste, it is also as nutritious as delicious, packed full of essential nutrients required for optimal health. Because of the long lifespan of the species, everyone in the fishery is highly committed to maintaining a sustainable and viable resource for today and tomorrow.
Sustainability is critical. As a First Nations person, stewardship of our resources is absolutely essential in everything that we do. And we have to take every measure that we can to sustain an industry into the future. So I want this industry to continue on and grow.
The UHA co-manages the geoduck fishery together with the Canadian Department of Fisheries and Oceans, or DFO. Taking part in the management of the fishery is something that the UHA members take very seriously. The association therefore fully funds and is actively involved in many science and research programs necessary to ensure a sustainable fishery. Programs include conducting regular surveys of populations, testing for biotoxins to ensure the clams are safe to eat, and assessing the impact of the fishery on the environment.
We currently fund all the management programs. We have on-grounds monitors, we have enhancement programs, stock assessment research. All of that is funded through the Underwater Harvesters Association.
The DFO, in collaboration with the UHA, develops an integrated management plan for the geoduck resource. Each year, survey results and computer models are used to ensure that only 1.2 to 1.8% of the current biomass is harvested annually.
The process basically starts with science. Science provides us with quota options. For each geoduck bed on the coast, there are 4,000 plus geoduck beds on the coast. That is determined by density, by the bed area, by the average weight. Those go together to calculate current biomass.
The TAC, or total allowable catch, is then divided among the 55 license holders to determine the individual quota or maximum harvest per license that year. Surveying the resource is key in determining the annual and also long-term harvest levels. During each survey, Divers count geoduck shows 1 meter on either side of transects or lead lines, randomly placed on geoduck beds, and record their observations. It is this information that is used to determine quotas, or the number of clams available for the sustainable harvest each year. The UHA is also highly informed on environmental conditions surrounding wild geoduck stocks, and are also aware of any impacts the harvest may have on the environment. Through independent studies, it's been proven that this method of harvesting has no significant long-term effects on the structure of the ocean floor, the small organisms that live in the sediment, or the plants and animals on the surface of the floor.
What the studies have found, impacts from fishing are minimal and short-lived on a scale compared to natural events like a winter storm. There's more siltation from a winter storm than there is from geoduck fishing.
To ensure the long-term viability of the fishery, the UHA started enhancing geoduck populations in the mid-1990s and continues to commit both the funds and effort to this priority program.
Since 1995 today, we've planted over 7 million geoducks. Our goal is to plant 1 million geoducks a year, but that varies depending on what's available from our hatchery.
UHA members felt it was important to develop and refine enhancement technology, even though the existing fishery was not overexploiting wild stocks.
The UHA felt it was very important to be in on the ground floor with everything to do with geoduck culture in British Columbia. Enhancing the wild beds was a very natural part for the UHA. These enhanced beds will actually help the spawning biomass in the areas and spawn with the wild product.
Because geoduck larvae and juveniles are subject to significant mortalities in the wild, it has been proven that culturing will increase their survival. The UHA Enhancement Program is internationally recognized and is the only enhancement program in Canada that is entirely funded by industry. Strong commitment and inherent pride in the resource, geoduck from Canada has earned an international reputation as the true geoduck of great taste, fresh flavor, and premium quality. Experience geoduck from Canada.